Hiya. We're here at the Rafa stand at EuroBike, smelling the coffee, and very good it smells too. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some of the bikes that Rafa have got on their stand, not Rafa actual bikes, but these, the Pinarello Dogma disc. In fact, we're here to talk about two of them, because there are a number of flavours of this bike here at EuroBike. The SRAM one, we've got SRAM Red 22, the Shimano one, which is actually only on the Pinarello stand as far as I can see, and this bike here, which our very own Dave Arthur has ridden and probably will be riding again this evening, which is the Shimano Di2 group set combined with the TRP High Road mechanical to hydraulic brake. So Matt and I are here to have a sort of look at the two bikes, the SRAM one and this one. We've also got an EPS version knocking around here somewhere, and we may probably try and, well, we will probably try and ride them to compare and contrast the various systems. Certainly, we were impressed with the high road braking, and the advantage of that is that it'll plug into, it's retrofittable to any existing lever, so it'll plug into.
Look at them on here.
Yeah, indeed.
So they're cable operated disc brakes. They use the normal Shimano Dura-Ace Di2 levers to operate, but the brakes themselves are actually hydraulic. The works within the brake are hydraulic, so rather than having an external unit like you used to have to convert the cable movement into hydraulic movement, with the high road it's all done within the brake itself. So as you can see, that's me operating it.
And one of the advantages of that, well, there's a number of advantages of that. One of the advantages of that for manufacturers who want to spec hydraulic discs on their bikes at the moment is that it's available and it's readily available. The problem for if you want to plug your bike into a Shimano setup is that the Shimano hydraulic brakes seem to be in pretty short supply. I'm talking to various manufacturers who've got bikes launched and specced with them. They haven't actually got the brakes in significant numbers yet. They've mainly got samples. So that's an elegant solution that will give you very good hydraulic braking that's available now. Yeah, and in fact, well, it's a bonus all round for both the manufacturer, because obviously their initial cost of speccing them as original equipment is going to be very low, which you'd hope would be passed on to the customer. So, which makes buying a bike with this setup potentially pretty cost effective if you want to have hydraulics, especially when you want to have hydraulics with Di2.
Yeah, I was going to say the rest of this bike is full Di2, so you've got Di2 levers, the batteries incorporated somewhere in the seat post, and front back rear movement. So you've got full Di2 going on the rest of the bike.
I mean, the other changes, of course, from the standard Dogma will be, on the obvious ones, are the fork, which obviously is to incorporate the disc mount, the disc, and at the bit of the rear, the dropouts too. And this, again, what we've noticed is that nearly everyone, all the high-end bikes we've seen that have got any sort of hydraulic system have gone for inboard mounting of the disc at the rear.
Nearly everyone, isn't it?
Nearly everything. There is one bike here, I think, that we've seen that doesn't, whereas bikes with mechanical disc setup seem to mainly be sticking with outboard mounting at the back. It's also a difference between most of the carbon bikes, I'd say. Most of the carbon bikes have gone for this option in terms of setup. So it's different here, Obviously, the other thing that this bike's got to cope with is the forces, the extra forces put through the frame on one side by the disc brake. So you would expect that, I mean, obviously this is a shame we haven't actually got the standard Dogma here to compare, but this is going to be a significantly stiffened up fork. I mean, we were just sort of pondering one of the things that Pinarello, the selling points of this particular bike, and one of the things that Pinarello always bang on about, and is its asymmetrical frame and the properties. What is it supposed to do? Asymmetry?
Well, you can see the asymmetry on the chainstays of this bike. Yeah, they've got, to cope with the greater forces through the drive side, they beef up the drive side chainstay. To some extent, you've got other forces now working more on the non-drive side, because you've got the disc which mounts to the left-hand side of the bike. So they've had to tweak the way they work with the carbon there. So I don't quite know how the forces, opposing forces,
are reconciled or balanced. Yeah.
Exactly.
So interesting to see that there's still an asymmetrical frame. Well, according to the little sticker on the top tube, it is anyway.
Oh, they won't let that asymmetry go. One difference is that with this one being cable operated, the front brake cable runs down internally through the fork.
Another thing you can see here, because we've got the SRAM Red 22, which you tested at launch, didn't you? And it's interesting, people are always going on about the difference in the height of now these bars are exactly the same, but actually, when you look at it, it's not that big a difference.
Yeah, I think most people's objection to it is purely from an aesthetic
point of view.
It is pretty different.
Yeah.
From a practical point of view.
It's funny, from this side,
really good hold there. There's no way, whatever you hit off-road, you're not going to take this bike off-road, but on a cyclocross bike, for example, you're never going to
go over the top.
Over the top of the hoods. The other thing is you can kind of get down into a tuck position and just purely with your hands around the top. I call it the nose. This kind of horn. Just hold on to that, and it's without any need to kind of get any fingers underneath. It's a pretty secure position.
I mean, the reason that obviously that this is so tall in comparison to the Di2 lever is the Di2 lever actually hasn't got anything in it. It's empty, which is also the advantage Shimano have with converting the Di2 lever to hydraulics, or incorporating a hydraulic system in it, is that it's got all that space within the lever to stick the reservoir. And in fact, I'm sure that was always the intention with Di2. The medium term was that they knew they had that space there.
Yeah, maybe. The electronics take up very little space.
And it was something that we talked about, the press talked about straight away, as soon as Di2 was launched, 5 years ago, that potentially, the obvious potential was to stick a hydraulic reservoir in there. Obviously, SRAM don't have that option, because they've got to incorporate the reservoir in the lever along with the mechanical shift mechanisms, which makes for a taller lever.
It's one of those things that you kind of get used to it. Maybe you won't get used to it, but it doesn't bother me especially.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it sort of looks like an old Shimano lever. Well, they used to be really tall, didn't they? And they've progressively got smaller, while Campag levers got taller until they sort of all met in the middle. And now this has broken the mould. Yeah, maybe we'll get used to it. Or obviously, maybe we'll get used to hydraulic disc brakes on road bikes. And where are my manners? We should say thanks to Rafa for letting us look at their bikes and smell their coffee. Thanks a lot.